from NBC News, please. Right here on the front row, blue jacket.
Well, congratulations again. I wanted to follow up on Chris's question because Chris asked you what's your timeline potentially to go to the moon or Mars, and you said, did you say as soon as next year? Can you quantify that? Then I had my real question. I'm just doing Chris's work here.
Sure, yeah.
But
yeah. Well, by hopper tests, I mean, kind of like we had the Grasshopper program for Falcon 9, where we just had the rocket take off and land in Texas, at our Texas test site. So that would be, we'll either do that at our South Texas launch site near Brownsville, or do ship to ship. We're not sure yet whether ship to ship or Brownsville, but most likely it's going to happen at our Brownsville location because we've got a lot of land with nobody around. So if it blows up, it's cool. But by hopper test, I mean it'll go up, several miles and then come down. The ship is capable of a single stage to orbit if you fully load the tanks. So we'll do flights of increasing complexity. We really want to test the heat shield material. Something like fly out, turn around, accelerate back real hard, and come in hot to test the heat shield, because we want to have a highly reusable heat shield that's capable of absorbing the heat from interplanetary entry velocities. So it's really tricky.
The potential to go to Moon or Mars. What's your timeline there?
Yeah. So there are a lot of uncertainties on this program, but it is going to be our focus after. Now we're almost done with Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. We're going to level off, as I said, at Block 5 of version 5. So there won't be any more major versions of Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy. Dragon is also going to level off at Dragon version 2. There might be like point releases, 5.1 or Dragon 2.1 or something like that. But most of our engineering resources will be dedicated to VFR, and so I think that will make things go quite quickly. The ship part is by far the hardest, because that's going to come in from supraorbital velocities, like Mars transfer velocities, Moon transfer velocities. These are way harder than coming in from Earth orbit. There's some of the heating things that scale to the 8th power, which I didn't realize there's anything that scales to the 8th power. But it turns out certain elements of reentry heating scale to the 8th. So just testing that ship out is the real tricky part. The booster, I think, I don't want to get complacent, but I think we understand reusable boosters, reusable spaceships that can land propulsively. That's harder. So we're starting with the hard part first. I don't know. I think it's conceivable that we do our first test flight in 3 or 4 years of a full up orbital test flight, including the booster. Oh no, we'd go to Earth orbit first, but it would be capable of going to the moon shortly thereafter. It's designed to do that.
We want to be.
The best way to optimize the cost per unit mass to Mars and back is to use an all-methane system, or technically deep cryomethalogs. So those are the four elements that need to be achieved. Whatever architecture, whatever system is designed, whether by SpaceX or anyone, we think these are the 4 features that need to be addressed in order for the system to really achieve a low cost per ton to the surface of Mars. And this is a simulation of the overall system. So what you saw there is really quite close to what we will actually build. It will look almost exactly what you saw, like what you saw. So this is not an artist's impression. These the simulation was actually made from the SpaceX engineering CAD models. So this is not, it's not just, well, this is what it might look like. This is what we plan to try to make it look like. So in the video, you got a sense for what the system architecture looks like. The rocket booster and the spaceship take off, loads the spaceship into orbit. The rocket booster then comes back. It comes back quite quickly, within about 20 minutes. And so it can actually launch the tanker version of the spacecraft, which is essentially the same as the spaceship, but filling up the unpressurized and pressurized cargo areas with propellant tanks. So they look almost identical. So this also helps lower the development cost, which obviously will not be small. And then the propellant tanker goes up, and it'll go up multiple times, so anywhere from 3 to 5 times to fill the tanks of the spaceship in orbit. And then once the tanks are full, the cargo has been transferred, and we reach the Mars rendezvous timing, which, as mentioned, is roughly every 26 months. That's when the ship would depart. Now, over time, there would be many spaceships. You'd ultimately have, I think, upwards of 1,000 or more spaceships waiting in orbit. And so that the Mars colonial fleet would depart en masse. They're kind of like Battlestar Galactica. You've seen that thing. That's a good show. So a bit like that. But it actually makes sense to load the spaceships into orbit because you've got 2 years to do so, and then make frequent use of the booster and the tanker to get really heavy reuse out of those. And then with the spaceship, you get less reuse because you have to say, well, how long is it going to last? Well, maybe 30 years. So that might be 12 to maybe 15 flights of the spaceship at most. So you really want to maximize the cargo of the spaceship and reuse the booster and the tanker a lot. So anyways, the ship goes to Mars, gets propellant replenished, and then returns to Earth.